Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over a story titled, I, a 22-year-old male, found out that my girlfriend, 23, cheated and our son isn't mine. And guys, this is a story about a young guy who finds out in his late teens that his girlfriend is pregnant. And of course he believes it's his child because she would never cheat on him, right? And then he does the right thing in his mind. He believes it's his child, so he's going to take care of responsibility and provide and do all that. And he loves this boy. And then a couple of years later, lo and behold, his sweet and innocent girlfriend informs him, by the way, this isn't your kid. And the guy is obviously, you can imagine, deeply upset. And he took off and left her. And at this point, he's confused of what the hell to do, what rights he has, all that. And I'm doing this, guys, because just to show you, this is the type of crap that can happen. So this is why it's so important, no matter what, guys, you always wear protection, okay? I don't care if she says she's on the pill, whatever she may say, you always wear protection, guys, okay? And when you're done doing your business, you personally dispose of that protection. I've told some horror stories in articles I've done about what happens to some guys that go leaving their used condom behind, what has happened. And it's scary, crazy shit, but girls sometimes use it to get pregnant. No joke. So you always wear protection. You always dispose of your protection. And if you're older and you absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt, I mean without a shadow of a doubt, you never want to have kids, then I would seriously consider getting a vasectomy. Really think about it. Do your research. I don't want you guys to go do it and then a couple of years later change your mind and come back and give me some hate email and saying I told you to do it. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm saying consider this. You do the considering and then decide, especially if you guys are, see yourself having a life of having casual relationships and all that, never getting married, never getting serious. Seriously consider that option. More and more guys are. That's one reason. The other reason I'm doing is, again, to show you guys is that if you are ever in this situation, you got to insist to make sure that child is yours. A paternity test, DNA test, whatever the hell test it is, do it. This guy didn't do it, okay, which is crazy. And, through this article, you're going to see this guy, he's a good guy. And unfortunately, because he's a good guy, that kindness is taken for weakness, and he's fully taken advantage by this girl here, okay? She's a snake. You're going to see as I'm going through this article that's completely an accurate description of her. This guy's a good guy, but naive and young, and I'll give him a pass because he's obviously very young when all these things happen, and he simply doesn't know, and he's too trusting. I guarantee you now he's a changed man. So you would always, in a situation like this, guys, you ever get this news from your girlfriend, whatever, even if you love her and you want, and she's the one you want to be with her, whatever, you find out, make sure that child's yours. Okay? Seriously. I don't care how pissed off she gets or what she says, you find out. Or you may find out later on down the road, you're raising, loving, and paying for some other dude's child. And it happens, guys. Trust me. So, starting off, guy says, my girlfriend and I met in middle school, and we started dating in high school. Middle school. We had an on-again, off-again type of relationship, and we each had other relationships between our off periods. We have been on again for 3 years now, and it seemed like we have finally matured and left the petty shit behind us. Well, so he thought. We would always break up for dumb reasons, but we took the step to communicate better so we wouldn't have those problems again. When she told me she was pregnant, I wasn't exactly excited about the news. She wasn't either. We're both young, and our lives were just beginning. At first, she wanted to get an abortion and even had an appointment set up. I was being supportive as I could be, and on our way there, she broke down in tears saying that she couldn't go through with it. I wasn't ready to be a father, but I had to man up and take responsibility. That's what men do. We fix shit. We take responsibility. Now, what he should have been doing, obviously, like I said in the beginning, paternity tests. When that could be possible, he had to do that, okay? And at that point then, if he found out that the child wasn't his, I would say, hey, best of luck, I'm out of there, okay? Because she obviously cheated and so forth. But that, every guy's different, but it even seems like, given this story, the way you hear about this guy, I bet if she told him, he probably still would have stayed. but that's just who he was. But he was a young guy. So this guy gets a pass for being young and not knowing enough, not having enough knowledge about life and female nature and how the ugly side of female nature. But I will give him credit because this guy, he thought it was his child, and he said, that's it, I'm going to man up and take responsibility for that child, okay? Men take responsibility for their actions, at least as long as they believe it's their actions. As the pregnancy progressed, fatherhood seemed more and more appealing to me. I started to get excited about it, but she wasn't at all. Big surprise. I did my research and found out that it's normal, so I never pushed her or questioned her about it. During the last months, she started picking petty fights like we were in high school again. I thought that was her hormones, so I tried not to argue back. Yeah, her hormones are going to go wild, I get that, and the emotions are like a roller coaster, but she shouldn't be picking petty fights. But she was picking petty fights because she knew this guy was the type of guy that would take it. End of story, she knew. She knew she could manipulate this guy, she can lie to this guy, and insult him and be rude and bitchy, and he'd still stick around. Guys, don't be that guy. Do not be the guy to take shit. Otherwise, you're going to get more shit. Just like this. It's a real life example. Continues, the day my son was born was probably the best day of my life. I could never explain the pure happiness that I felt. Now it's bitter. She still wasn't happy, and I was worried about her. I was worried that she was regretting the choice to keep the baby. I asked her privately when our friends and family weren't there, and she lashed out at me and told me I was stupid for asking her that question when she just gave birth. I just let it go afterwards. Yeah, I would not exactly ask that question the same day that she squeezed a child out of her. He has the right to ask her that question, but not that day. Bad timing. We celebrated our son's birthday a few days ago, just the two of us at home. I had put our son to bed and heard my girlfriend crying in our room. I went in to console her, but when I went in, she told me to just stay away from her because she's a bad person. Oh, you can just smell the manipulation in the air. How many of you guys have been in a situation in your lives when you didn't know any better or whatever, where a girlfriend starts crying and you're like, you're trying to be a good guy and console her and say, what's wrong? They're there. And she starts saying, I'm a bad person. More crying. It's okay. You're not a bad person. I am. They're they're her. And then she drops the bombshell on you. And then you feel like an ass because you just they're her and she's crying. And how many guys actually, she'll drop a bombshell on you about something she did recently or 5 years ago, about something from her past. But she did all the crying and I'm the bad person on purpose. How many of you guys have been in a situation somewhat like that? It's happened to me, I'll be honest with you, and I never saw it coming. Nowadays, if I'd see the waterworks, it's like, oh, what kind of shit is she going to let out momentarily? And she did it right here, see? And she knew what this guy would do. Actually, she didn't know what he would do because you're going to see what this guy really does. He said, I tried telling her that she isn't and listing all the reasons why she isn't, and she just yelled out, Jay, he says in parentheses, our son isn't yours. I couldn't believe what I just heard. The room was spinning, and I felt like I had just been punched in the gut. I couldn't even speak. She said that she had slept with one of our friends because she thought I was cheating because she saw a message from my ex. In other words, it's your fault I cheated. I saw a message from your ex, and I thought you were cheating on me, so therefore it's your fault that I went ahead and slept with some dude and got pregnant. He says, goes on, she said that she had slept with one of her friends because she thought that I was cheating because she saw a message from my ex. She didn't know he wasn't mine for sure until he was a few months old and she did a DNA test. She figured that I would be a better father, so she didn't say anything. I just picked up my keys and left. I drove to my brother's house and have been staying there ever since. So the kid's a couple months old. She does a DNA test because she obviously doesn't know whose kid this is. And lo and behold, it's not his kid. It's Chatter Tyrone's kid. Okay? But she obviously knows Chatter Tyrone, that was her friend, aren't going to be a very good daddy. But this guy will stick around and be the father and pay the bills and be the supportive. I don't think he's married to her. He said girlfriend, so thank God he didn't marry her, or it would have gotten really bad. And she knew. So guys, if you ever have a woman tell you that you're marriage material or your boyfriend material or dad material, don't 100% take that as a compliment. It means you're the guy that they will settle down with and settle with after they're done riding the Sausage Express or riding the carousel, okay? You're that guy. So you don't want to be that guy. I mean, I'm not saying guys that are fathers or husbands are bad guys, but generally they fit a certain profile that they're the ones they settle down with, because typically the guys the women really want, they're not the marriage material type. That's just how it is. But this poor guy, he had no idea. He was so trusting and thought this was his child, and he loved the child and all that, which I think is great. This guy was mature enough that young, but look what happened. He just, had this with the wrong person. And he picked up his keys and took off. He continues, I've been ignoring her calls and messages. I just can't talk to her right now. I also feel so guilty for leaving my son. I know he isn't mine, but he's been my son, and so how could I leave him? I've seen her messages about him asking for me. She even sent a video of him asking for me. It's making things so much harder for me right now. She knows exactly what she's doing. Instead of saying, I need you and I want to talk to you, she's saying, the kid's asking about you, and she's sending videos of the kid because she knows what strings to pull with this guy. I mean, He says, I know that the relationship with her is done for good, but I don't know what to do about Jay. If I were to just walk away, I'd be the bad guy, but I also don't want to walk out. On the other hand, if I stay, it wouldn't feel right. I'm just really lost and really broken right now. I need help. I don't know what to do. So, if this guy was someone asking me for advice, I would tell him absolutely he had every right to be pissed off and storm out the door. Absolutely, because she's been lying to him for years and taking advantage of him and manipulating him and all this deceitful bullshit, okay? I would say definitely did the right thing getting out the door. I'd also say that's it romantically with this woman, okay? Period. Now, if this guy chose to say, that's it, walk away completely, there'd be a lot of people who would say that was your kid, blah, 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 but he would have it right because he's not the child's father. But obviously this child is extremely important to him. He sees this child as his son. He's believed that this child has been his child since she got pregnant, and obviously he's been raising him for a couple of years, okay? Now, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know shit about family law or how it would work out, so I'd be very curious to see what he could do. So I'd recommend that he go talk to a family law attorney and find out if he has any rights whatsoever about this kid. Because, like I said, he was led to believe that this was his child. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe under the law, maybe under the state law that he's in, or wherever the hell, I don't know what country he's from, but I'm assuming it's the United States, what laws he would have to be able to get some rights over this child. Who the hell knows? It could be because he's not the biological father, but then again, he was raising the child for 2 years. In my mind, he should have some rights, but I simply don't know. So any of you guys watching this, right now, if you're a lawyer or you're pretty familiar with family law, let me know. I'm very curious if this guy would have any rights. And please share your opinion. So maybe one day if somebody happened to watch this video and they were in a similar situation, if they saw the comments, they would then know if they potentially have some options, because I have no fucking idea. But I think the guy, he obviously really loves his child, and I respect him for still loving this child, even though it's not his kid. I mean, a lot of guys would be like, the hell with it, I can't say what I would do in that situation, because it's easiest to say, the hell with that, it's somebody else's kid. But you don't know until you're in that situation. So, that guy, obviously, if that's what he really wants, I would hope he would get some rights and all that. Because leaving that boy with her, she's obviously a nut job, and we know it. She didn't want the kid anyway, and that kid's just going to be screwed the hell up. And this guy would do a good job as a man taking care of that kid, even though it's not his. So, I mean, there's a lot of gray here. Every situation is different. But I can't say 100% what I would do because I don't know. So, but anyhow, guys, again, this is yet a story to show you this type of crap can happen. Okay? So you got to be very careful. Wear your protection. Dispose of your protection. If you absolutely know you don't want to have a kid one day, no ifs, ands, or buts, and you're a mature adult, I'm not saying you're 18 years old and one day. No, I'm talking about you've lived a while and you really know without a shadow of a doubt, consider the vasectomy. But also, if you do fall in a situation like this, I don't care how sweet she is. I don't care if she's a church-going girl, whatever the hell it is, sweet and innocent. And by the way, those are the ones you really got to watch out for. DNA test, paternity test, whatever test you got to do to make sure that kid's yours as soon as possible. And then you can decide what you want to do here. You don't want to be raising a kid for a few years and find out, oh, by the way, that's not your kid. And in some cases, she could take the kid away from you, and the kid's destroyed and you're destroyed and all that. So anyway, guys, that would be a good thing to share. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.